Many years ago, I used to read a lot of science fiction and fantasy novels when I was a kid and a teenager. And I remember one I used to read a lot was a guy called Robert Heinlein. And I always remember this little snippet of a quote from one of his books. And it goes, specialization is for insects. And I'll give you the whole quote here from Heinlein. A human being should be able to change a diaper, plan an invasion, butcher a hog, con a ship, design a building, write a sonnet, balance accounts, build a wall, set a bone, comfort the dying, take orders, give orders, cooperate, act alone, solve equations, analyze a new problem, pitch manure, program a computer, cook a tasty meal, fight efficiently, die gallantly. Specialization is for insects. Now, that quote is a bit melodramatic and maybe somewhat aged, but I think this sentiment of being well-rounded, and we have a term for this nowadays. I guess you might call this a person who has all these multiple talents. We often call a Renaissance man, right? And that comes from the Renaissance because we had these beautiful human beings that were gifted in multiple realms. And the first one that comes to mind is DaVinci. And of course, there's, Michelangelo, Galileo. But what I want to talk about here that you've heard of all of them. And in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about one you might not have heard of. It's called Bernini. First, let me tell you how I came to know Bernini. It's through my obsession with cardboard. When I was growing up as a kid, my dad worked in a cardboard factory, making boxes and all kinds of cardboard. And he used to bring home all kinds of strange, unusual, and different and cardboard things. So I developed my obsession with cardboard really early in life, and it remains with me to this day. But there is a documentary by an artist, and the documentary is called The Cardboard Bernini. So, of course, I had to watch it, and I love it. And it's about this artist who made this big fountain-like sculpture out of cardboard, a really big one, in the style of Bernini. And it's kind of cool. After he finished it, he put it outside and let the rain melt it away. I'll put a description. I'll put a link. You can watch it on Tubi for free. You can get it on Amazon Prime, but it's free on Tubi. I'll put a link if you want to watch the Cardboard Bernini. It's kind of interesting. But then what we'll do is we're going to look at a bunch of pictures that I took in my scouring around Rome of various Bernini stuff. And then we will end off with a little bit of a look at the Bernini baldachin in the St. Peter's Cathedral Basilica. It's in St. Peter's Basilica. We'll end up with my thoughts on Bernini synthesis of art forms and how Bernini was an expert in this. And the thing about him is, he was a true Renaissance man in the fact that he was a sculptor, he was an architect, he was a painter, he was deeply involved in the theater, which included writing plays, directing plays, and designing sets and all that kind of stuff. So he was multi-talented, a true polymath. But let's look at some pictures of Bernini's work. Okay, so here's some pictures of Bernini's work, and almost all of these pictures come from me exploring Rome. And I'm going to make all these pictures plus others available to you to download and look at online for free. I'll put a link and instructions in the description of this video. This was his first fountain work. He's famous for fountain works. This is the Fountain of Triton. And one of the big things about this is it changed fountains. Because before this, fountains in Rome were just a basin for people to get water. So he made a sculpture into a fountain, which was quite unique at the time. And you can see here, I think that was in the 1640s. And you can see here a very unusual idea where he's, once again, this is where he started combining architecture and sculpture, because you have an obelisk here supported by an elephant. And the elephant is actually, on a pedestal. It's an interesting combination that you will see over and over again. And Bernini actually is credited with creating the whole world of Baroque sculpture, because he isn't actually a Renaissance time period. He's more in the Baroque time period, which came after the Renaissance. This is Fontana della Boccaccia. It's the fountain of the boat, and it's a half-sunken boat that's a fountain. And supposedly there's a rumor, or what would you call it, an old fable about how a boat had come into the city, into a plaza, and during a flood, and when the flood subsided, the boat was half submerged, and it gave him the idea for the fountain. This is the Bridge of St. Angelo. It leads up to the Castle of St. Angelo. Now, he didn't design the bridge. It predates him by a lot, but he did design sculpt two of the angels on the bridge. So you can see some of the angels here on the bridge leading to the San Angelo Castle. And I'll show you, now these pictures are all mine, but these next two pictures of the angels are actually come from Wikipedia. So there's one of the angels that Bernini sculpted. Isn't that beautiful? And here's a look at another one of the angels that he sculpted. So next we're going to go to a place called Piazza Navona, which I visited, and these plazas, and this is the Fountain of the Four Rivers. And we'll get several pictures here, and it is quite beautiful. There are four rivers represented by four gods all around the obelisk, and there's a lot of symbolic meaning to these, and like each river god is surrounded by like something that, either the plant life or the animal life that comes from that river. It's pretty interesting. It's a beautiful fountain in the Piazza Navona. And here's another fountain, Fountain del Moro, Fountain of the Moor, in the same piazza, in the same plaza. So, I visited that plaza. It was really quite wonderful. But next we go on to some of his most masterful work. I guess you could say his biggest work is the St. Peter's Square, outside of St. Peter's Basilica. So he designed the square, which has those columns and the obelisk, and the point being for as many people to get into the square and to see the Pope as possible when the Pope made public appearances. He also had a hand, along with many other architects, in the design and the building of St. Peter's Basilica itself. But so we've seen, fountains, we've seen sculptures, we've seen architecture. Now we'll go into St. Peter's Basilica and look at the baldachin, if I'm saying that correctly. And that is this structure here, the brown structure over the altar. And it really is very striking, because to me, and I guess probably to everybody, it is a combination of architecture and sculpture. It's an architectural unit, right? But it also is a sculpted unit. Like those pillars are just amazing to me, how they're like twisted trees almost. Isn't that beautiful? Those are cast in bronze. And behind that now, and so we're combining different things here, which is a beautiful synthesis of architecture and sculpture and mediums. Right? We're cast in bronze, we're working in marble. The base for those pillars are marble. And now see that bright light behind there? I didn't get any pictures of that, and I don't know why I didn't. I thought I did, but I can't find any. That is St. Peter's chair. And let me finish off this talk a little bit about St. Peter's chair. The thing is just magnificent. We're going to get a closer look. And I guess you could say, when you look at this, you could say that Bernini was the original master of multimedia. In today's world, we think of multimedia as like, music and film and video and all of that, but he was the true first master of multimedia. Thank you. So I've got lots more stuff coming. We're just getting started on my big adventure around Europe, and we're going to be looking at more at Rome, because I spent 3 days in Rome my first time around, and then after the whole thing was done and I did my pilgrimage in France and Italy, I returned back to Rome for 8 more days, which was a profound experience for me. But so I guess what I'm saying is lots more stuff coming. Thank you for supporting me here on Patreon. I'm making all my Rome pictures available to you. I'm going to make all the pictures available to you. All the pictures and videos is 4,000, around 4,000 of them. And I'll put links to the various stuff I talked about in this video, like the cardboard Bernini, in the description of this video down below, so you can check things out further. But if you go down the Bernini rabbit hole, you're going to be surprised. It's really quite the man was quite amazing.